Hello everyone, this is Mike and welcome to session number 9 of our Cognos report training series. And we're going to start the day with the continuation of our storage capacity trends and forecast report. We need to add the forecasting piece, which will be part of our SQL query, and I want to change some of the characteristics of the chart itself. All right, so let's do that. And we'll continue to build on this report and add some other features that I think you'll like, and it'll definitely help you when you're building use cases for your end users. Okay, so let's do that. Let's go over to our report in edit mode and then go to our queries. Double click on your SQL object, and what I want to do is I want to copy all of this here inside of our dialog box, and I'm going to type the word union, and a union allows me to create two very similar SQL queries that actually would access a different data set or a different fact table. All right, and that's exactly what we're going to do here. So I'm going to create that union between these two exact queries and just make a subtle change. I'm going to use the storage and storage pool capacity future fact, okay? And that's accessible inside of our web UI. Okay, let's go in the web UI. I want to make sure that we have our schema up and running here. Okay, we're going to go to our documentation. We're going to navigate over to observability, go down to reporting, and then scroll down to schema tables. All right, click on the schema tables link, and then you're going to get your PDF that would contain all of the databases and data tables and fields that are associated with our data warehouse. Okay, so down here you can see we have a storage and storage pool capacity fact or future fact. All right, and the future fact allows us to project storage capacity into the future for 12 months. It defaults to 12 months. You can shrink that, but the recommendation and the best practice is to use what is provided out of the box. Okay, I also have a custom linear regression algorithm that I use for other use cases. This is only for storage pools, and it's the only one, the only repository in the data warehouse that has this built in, right? So there's other use cases like applications, storage grid. We have business units and business entities. We can do forecasting by volumes, forecasting by virtual machine storage. So there's lots of things we can do with linear regression and forecast, but we have to build it ourselves. I do have that code. I'm going to share that with you down the road when we get into the advanced piece of this series. Okay, so let's do this. Let's go back to our SQL query, and I'm going to change the storage and storage pool capacity fact to future fact. All right, and I want to make sure I'm not going to use rep month latest. I don't need that. Okay, and we want to make sure that we're formatting properly and everything is the same, which it is. So if you go back to the schema, I'm basically just using capacity and use capacity, and it just projects it into the future, right? Using linear regression built in, and it's basically applied during the ETL process. ETL that we talked about in the initial sessions of this course would basically take the data from the web UI, process it, run it through business logic, and then place it in the proper locations in the data warehouse. During that process is where we create the forecasting piece using linear regression. Okay, so I will show you that in future sessions, more advanced topic, of course, and it'll help you a lot, and you can apply it to a lot of different use cases for your customers. Okay, so once I get that in there, a couple of rules here. Unions require you to have the exact same field names in both sections, the top section and the bottom section, right? So here, this is actually projected usable, and this is projected use. It's not the same as above. This is historical used and historical usable, right? This is projected. This is what's going to be forecast. However, they are not going to be the same columns. So what we have to do is we have to add a null value as usable in TIB, okay? And then null value as used in TIB, all right? And then up here, same thing, reverse though. Okay, this is reversed. I deleted my date there. I can't do that. Okay, down here we're going to do null as projected, and they have to be in the proper order or else it will fail. You'll get an error. Okay, so and make sure it's spelled correctly. And if you do that, you should be in good shape when you run the report. Okay, so there you go. Everything is correct, hopefully, and I'm going to do a validate, and yes, it is. Syntax check here, and also the structure. It's a structure test, so if your structure was not configured properly, it would give you an error as well. Okay, so there's different errors that can pop up here, and it's not great, but it is sufficient to find the problem and address it. Okay, so there we go. Now, a couple of things I want to change. I want to actually add a constraint in here, and I'm going to copy and paste it because I don't want to create it from scratch. Okay, so this is a constraint that allows me to just select a certain number of months, okay, to build my forecast off of. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to use a where clause, and a where clause allows me to build constraints. And my where clause is going to say when full date is greater than or equal to, and then I'm going to add a subquery here. Okay, the subquery is in parentheses. Okay, a subquery is kind of a nested query within your main query, primary query. Okay, and this subquery allows me to, okay, let's go get all of the dates for 12 months. So I'm going to say where the full date is greater than or equal to the maximum full date from the storage and storage pool capacity fact. And then my interval is for 12 months. So you're basically saying give me everything up until 12 months. All right, and that's how you create your constraint. Now when I do that, you're going to see it in the chart. So let's click OK. All right, and I don't have to do anything here other than just drag over my projected capacity, right? So that's now part of my Cognos query, okay, and it's called a data item. And then when I go back up to my chart, I have to add it to the chart. So I'm going to go to my data items. I'm going to select both usable and used, and I'm going to drag that over to my chart. Now, what did I tell you the default was when you're building SQL? The Cognos engine doesn't know what you're trying to do. Okay, so you have to actually aggregate your data and ensure that you're using the proper steps in order to present the data properly in your environment. Now, what do I mean by that? Remember we talked about the date. The date, if you just use it out of the box, becomes a member caption, right? So if I just drag the date over, I won't be able to format the date. It'll be this huge string, including the time of the last ETL, all right? I don't want that. I just want a really small, shortened date. Right, so that's when I come over to my data format and I put in mm-yy. All right, if you type, just click in the box, it will show you the patterns. It gives you a little help screen down the bottom here. Okay, and then up here we have done a detailed aggregation on our usable and used capacity, but not our projected. So we have to do that as well. And we're going to total that, and we're going to total used. Okay, and once we total it all, it's going to look kind of funny, but let's just take a look at it and see what we get. And I like to make this a little bit easier to read. Now you can see that it's really tough to differentiate between what is usable, what is used, what's projected used, right? So I want to build this out and make it a little bit thicker and easier to follow for our end users. And to do that, we have to change the properties of our series. So I'm going to go over to properties for my series. And don't forget, when you click on something in Cognos, the properties are going to change based on what you're clicking on. Okay, and a lot of different things are clickable. So here I just want to go to series for my chart object, and I want to change to my palette. Okay, so I'm going to go, this is the default palette. I can pick anything I want here. I'm going to choose, let's do blue and green, okay, and then let's do yellow and red. All right, you can move these up in sequence. There we go. So you got blue, green, yellow, red. Blue is usable, okay, and then next up is used is going to be green, projected usable is yellow, and projected used is red. And we could change that to a deeper, darker red, okay, like this. All right, and if we don't like that, we can actually click on the color, go to the swatch here, and you can change it based on how dark you want it or how light you want it, okay? So that's how you do that. Pretty cool stuff. And then what I do with the red color, which is my projected use, my actual forecast data, I can use a dash or dots. All right, dash or dots. Let's do a dash. I want to change the weight to 2 pixels though. It's a little bit easier to read when each category, each series value is 2 pixels. It's a lot easier to follow. All right, so let's do that. And let's make the chart a little bit wider, take up a little bit more space. Okay, we have more real estate here we can consume. All right, and I'll make it 600, so it almost takes up the entire screen. So here we go. We're going to grab our forecast. There you go. And you can see it's way better to follow. All right, and when we make it so it's user friendly and it gives good symmetry and shows exactly what we need to show from a capacity forecast perspective. And again, we can drill down into this a lot deeper, right? And that's what we're going to do. We're going to create a way to drill into this so that if I want a specific storage array, I can get that. All right, I'm going to show you a few more tricks. So let's go back to the report, and over here what I want to do is I'm going to grab another table. I'm just going to place it here. It's going to be 2 columns and 1 row, and I'm going to take my entire report here and place it inside of and I'm going to drag my chart inside there as well. I'm going to place it inside of that new table that I've created, and now I have a little space over here, a column. And in my column I'm going to grab another table. All right, and this is going to be 1 column with, let's do 4 rows and do not maximize. All right, I want to change the orientation to the top of the cell. Okay, in here I want to grab my colors. All right, so my custom color. So if you don't know your custom color, you can actually come over here and grab it from the RGB section. All right, and then down here I want to keep things consistent, and the easiest thing to do, background, I need the background color, here we go, and just paste it in. The easiest thing to do is just copy and paste, and nothing better than that. So it speeds it up a little bit, and then we can type in select array. All right, I'm going to center that as well. So come up here with my, let's select the inside of the cell, go to horizontal alignment and go to center. Okay, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab a new container object, or what they call a prompt object. It's called value prompt. I'm going to drop that into the first row of the table, and I'm going to call it S array. S is a string. If it's N, it would be a value, right? So S is string, N is numeric. All right, that pops our value prompt inside of our table. Okay, and over here I want to go to my border, so I can select my border. I can choose silver, and I'm going to just make a silver border. It looks nice. All right, and in here I'm going to add some spacing, and that makes it nice as well. So I can add 5 pixels in each quadrant. Okay, and then when I get to this point, I need to create a query, which will be my array prompt. All right, and I'm going to name it array prompt. This is just my capacity trends and forecast query. Right, and then in here I'm going to connect to my pass-through syntax and then use inventory. I don't need to use capacity for this. Right, and I'm going to type select from storage S, and it's S name as storage, and you can actually say storage name too. And I also want S family as, and I'm going to show you why in a minute, as family, and then S model as model. Okay, and that'll help you a lot when you're, and if you want to even go further, how about manufacturer, and I'll call it vendor. Okay, and then validate it, and it's good. And then what I like to do is go into the Cognos query and then just sort by ascending order. All right, and that keeps it pretty consistent. It works really well in Cognos. Then I come over to my value prompt and then go to properties, and I'm going to select my query. All right, and it's array prompt, and I'm going to use the storage name. Now bear with me, you're going to see something really nice in a second. Then what I want to do is go and change it from required to a radio button group, and I want to auto submit it. So when I select an array from this prompt mechanism, it's going to automatically change my chart. Right, so here what I'm going to do is let's add a little padding here as well away from the chart. I'm going to do 25 pixels. That's a little bit better. So we want to be aesthetically pleasing to our end users and make it so that it's really easy to follow. Now another thing I like to do for a value add is drop a list box right here, change it to array prompt, and then it'll give a list of the storage devices by vendor, family, and model. All right, and that gives me the entire list right here. Now what I would like to do, and we've done this before, is grab a block. All right, you can actually bring the block in here. All right, let's just drop the block right here, and then move the list over to the block. All right, and then drag this back up here. And then within the block, I'm going to change my size and overflow. And it doesn't have to be that wide, maybe about 400 pixels, and that's pushing it a little bit. And height can be about, say, 500. All right, and always use scroll bar. Oh, I'm sorry, use scroll excuse me, only when necessary. All right, and there we go. That looks good. Now this is going to, and here's the thing. Before you do anything, do not run the report and change the rows to page to the highest value, 5,000. Right, and then when you run this, you'll be able to scroll, and it'll work pretty well. We'll take a look at it and see what it looks like, but it should not be more than that. So let's run it and give it a shot and see what it looks like. Okay. I haven't done any filtering, so yeah, this is a little bit tight. Okay, you can see storage name, vendor, family, and model. Right, and then you can scroll through it. Little lousy. I'd probably change that a little bit, maybe a little wider. Okay, same with and I do like symmetry. One thing I like is symmetry. Right, so I can probably change this to 600 and do the same thing up here. Change the size and overflow to 600 and a width of let's say 300. Okay, and that will help a lot. So let's do that and save it up. And then I want to make this, and see how this defaults to the middle of the cell? Not my favorite thing. So select the vertical alignment, click on top, make sure everything's, you know, near the top. It makes it easier to work with. All right, and then it looks a lot more professional too. All right, so let's continue on. So let's run this and see what that's a lot better. Okay, so you can see all of your storage devices over here on this side. And then when I select one, I will get a forecast for that specific device. So what I want to do now is add some features here. So if you look at this, I'm going to copy and paste that on the same line. And I'm going to change this to say 4. Oops, sorry, 4. All right, and then I'm going to copy and paste it again. Now what I want to do is I want to display the selected storage array name. So what I do is I've got 2 4s here, but one of them I'm going to change. And that one's going to be changed to a report expression over here in properties, and I'm going to select the parameter SRA. I'm going to double click it, and I'm going to say is not null. All right, so when I select something, this is going to change. I'm going to change that to yellow so you can see it. Let's save our report, and that helps a lot because then I know what I'm selecting. Next thing I'm going to do is go over to my query and drag storage name over to detail filters here to the right, and then type in SRA within question marks. Now why do they use the question marks? Are just delimiters. So I could just say equals or come down here and then just double click. It automatically adds the question marks because it knows it's a variable. These are delimiters to indicate this item is a variable. Right, and it's part of a value prompt. So click OK, and do not require it. Click on optional over here in properties, run it again, and now when I select something from the list, and I think there's a few arrays that are actually active here. I'm going to go down to tawny. I think that's probably your best bet. And then when I click on it, it automatically changes the report so that you see it. Now we got a little funny thing here. We have 1, so I don't know why that's 1. It's kind of weird. Maybe because it's, let's try another one. Yeah, it's not changing it. So let's go here, go to properties, and we don't have a default selection. We have everything correct here. Sometimes the way this parameters display is not correct. So if I say is not null, it should put in the actual parameter from here. But I'll play with that on my own time, and I'll fix it for you and show you exactly why. But let's hold off on that because we got to continue with the training here. So here we go. I'm going to run it again. I just want to point out a few things. So once you get this here, we want to do some stuff to make it, a little bit more polished, right? So we're going to add some more things here. I want to add the current capacity metrics up the top, so it gives you a summary, basically a summary that we use for most of our catalog reports. And I think if I want you to learn how to do that because it's important to build that summary in there and then show that. Basically will tell them current, what the current data is for the specific device. And if it's just global, it's a global picture, it will give you the entire footprint of the estate, all the storage that's known to DII. All right, so what I'll do is I'm going to stop this here. We're kind of near the top of the limit here of about 20 minutes, and I want to come back to this, add those summaries, do some more modifications, adjust the attributes and metrics, apply some KPIs, put some notations on the chart that help you a lot. And I think that's going to be really cool when we get to that point. All right, so we're really starting to get a little bit more advanced into the SQL side, but also the Cognos side. We're doing some neat stuff here. All right, and we'll continue on. Again, you're in the very basic part of this class. There's a lot more to it, and we will discuss it. We will bring you through step by step the beginning, the intermediate, and advanced sections, and I think you'll get a lot of value out of this. All right, so thank you very much. Thank you for bearing with me, and I will see you in the next session.